I've just gained the power of a creator. But the very next day, I'm diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer. To survive, I transform my family's orchard into a sandbox world and try to accelerate the evolution of life itself. My only hope is to create a civilization advanced enough to cure cancer. The tiny beings inside never stop exploring their square world. Then one day, they make a terrifying discovery. Their world has a round sky and a flat square earth, and a colossal giant tens of thousands of feet tall. When a civilization fails to meet my expectations, I wipe it all out and start over. I give every civilization's greatest hero one chance to ask me a question. Whenever they ask how many days it took to create the world, I think back to digging and building the sandbox with my own hands. It took me exactly 7 days. And so the legend spread that the creator made all things in just 7 days. Civilizations rise and fall inside my sandbox one after another. But who would ever guess that all these brilliant civilizations trace back to a single spore? I built a shallow artificial pond in the 100-acre sandbox, mixed it to the right salt ratio, and turned it into an ocean. I seeded this central ocean with a massive quantity of insect clan spores and accelerated cell division by 10,000 times. Every real-world day equals 10,000 years inside the sandbox. Even so, it takes until day 5 before single-celled organisms finally begin evolving into plankton. I've written genetic limits into the central ocean, capping the size of spore-based life, preventing anything from growing too large. On the afternoon of day 6, after 5 days of single-celled ancient seas, multicellular life finally appears. Within just a few minutes, it's like watching a nature documentary on fast forward. Species are born and die within seconds, each giving rise to the next. But as the sun sets, just as I expected, the sandbox world hits its first mass extinction. 12 hours of darkness means 5,000 years without sunlight. Vast fields of aquatic plants wither and sink to the ocean floor. Under the night sky, there is nothing left alive. My sandbox is too small. The sparse population isn't enough to evolve highly adaptable insect clan cells. Half an hour after moonlight falls, a faint trace of blue surfaces amid the sea of dead plants. A tiny leaf-shaped organism, no bigger than an ant. Without direct sunlight, this plant has somehow redirected its photosynthesis toward the moon. I'm completely stunned. I name it Lunabloom, and this single plant survives the first mass extinction. Within mere seconds, it begins evolving at a breathtaking pace. Lunabloom frantically adapts to the dark, spreading across the surface like lily pads, absorbing every ray of moonlight above. Another hour passes. After tens of thousands of generations, it begins branching into distinct varieties. 2 separate species emerge. One line focuses on absorbing moonlight more efficiently. The other turns carnivorous, using the moonlight it absorbs to emit a faint bioluminescent glow, luring other Lunablooms close, then swallowing them whole. Watching all of this, I can't help but marvel at how tenacious and extraordinary life truly is. This one surviving aquatic plant has built an entire diverse ecosystem in the darkness of the ocean. On impulse, I decide to write it all down. I grab a black notebook and open to the very first page of the Yanli Genesis. I write, "The Dark Age, heaven and earth convulse, the sun sets, the moon rises. The world is plunged into 5,000 years of darkness. 99% of all ocean life is wiped out. Only Lunabloom survives. In this dark ocean, Lunabloom reigns as the dominant life form of the age. The pond waits in silence. What comes next is ocean animals, but what kind of sea creatures will my insect clan cells evolve into? I stay up all night waiting for dawn, but when day 7 finally begins, all the Lunablooms that thrive through the night quickly wither. Adapted to faint moonlight, they burn up in the sunlight and sink to the ocean floor. In an instant, Lunabloom begins dying off on a massive scale. By afternoon, a faint trace of blue slowly stirs back to life among the dead colonies. It's a 5-pointed star-shaped Lunabloom, a mutant strain that has survived this extinction. Adapting to the intense sunlight, it begins reproducing generation after generation. Within minutes, the old ones die and new ones bloom, spreading into a vast field of dark blue star-shaped seagrass. Deeply moved, I name this species Solashade. I turn to the second page of my black notebook. I write, "The solar age, heaven and earth convulse again. The moon sets, the sun rises. For 5,000 years, the blazing sun hangs overhead. The Lunablooms that ruled the Dark Age are wiped out en masse. From among the weakest strains, Solashade surges to power and becomes the defining life form of this age. When night falls on day 7, Solashade lives peacefully in the ocean, now capable of surviving 10,000 years of alternating sun and moon. Meanwhile, massive photosynthesis from the aquatic plants has dramatically raised oxygen levels. The ocean is now ready for animal life. The first creatures to appear are a swarm of black beetle-shaped organisms. With that, ocean animals take the stage in the age of evolution. The moment I see animals emerge, I finally let out a relieved smile. Exhausted from a full day and night without sleep, I drag myself back to my room and crash. When I wake up, it's already day 8 of creation. I find that some sea creatures, unable to compete in the brutal ocean, have evolved into amphibians living along the barren shoreline. I quickly add a new entry. The third age, the age of new life. All kinds of animals explode onto the scene. The first ocean creatures emerge into a golden age of species. Invertebrates with tough shells dominate the seas, ruling the age, but not for long. Vertebrates are born, agile and quick. They seize dominance in the age of new life, crawl out of the ocean, and go on to rule a long age. I finish writing, and quietly close the black notebook. Land creatures are coming, but how long before intelligent life evolves? Then an idea strikes me. Why not drop some of my own blood into the sandbox? But that's too bold a move. Being cautious, I decide to experiment with another species' genes first. I head to the zoo, claim it's for a university project, and purchase purchase a chimpanzee blood sample. By the time I return to the orchard, the entire 100-acre sandbox is transformed into a miniature living world. Mountains are lush and green, strange twisted trees cover the plains, and animals swim through the rivers. I walk into this vast world and select a beetle-shaped creature, placing them into a fresh 1 square meter test plot. I inject the chimpanzee blood and accelerate time. Those that can't survive the rejection die off. Tens of millions perish within 2 days. From the survivors, I select the small group with the most successful genetic fusion and name them the Chitin-kin. They look remarkably human, but unlike humans, each one has a round black shell plate growing from their back. Breeding the Chitin-kin takes a full 2 days, which means 20,000 years have passed inside the sandbox. Powerful species emerge everywhere. Trees pierce the sky. Massive creatures are born everywhere, ushering in a terrifying age like the age of the dinosaurs. The largest is a beast with a black disc atop its head, having reached the size limit I set, roughly the size of a house cat from my perspective. I release the Chitin-kin into the sandbox, into a tree-lined Grand Canyon on the southern end. I want to see how they'll survive in an age like this. I set the time flow to 100 years per day. First thing the next morning, I rush over to check on the Chitin-kin. To my surprise, they've already formed basic tribal communities and even developed a rudimentary language. But I'm worried. They're far too weak. Their ancient genes from 20,000 years ago are simply no match. I'm not going to sit back and watch the Chitin-kin I worked so hard to create go extinct. I decide to give them the seeds of civilization. I rush order a miniature welcome pine bonsai online and commission an incredibly fine alloy blade, just slightly thicker than a needle's tip. By the time they arrive, a day and a half has passed, 150 years for the Chitin-kin. By now their numbers are growing critically thin, nearly extinct. And yet, I feel a strange sense of reassurance. Surviving 150 years in this brutal age without dying out, that shows real potential. So I reset the time flow to 1:1 and step inside. The Chitin-kin settlement is in ruins, bodies scattered everywhere. Run! We can't hold here anymore. They're coming! Several male Chitin-kin growl orders, pushing the women and children back to safety. They raise clubs carved from the horns of unknown beasts and charge toward the gaunt, pitch-black creatures known as shadow claws. We have to survive. The women and young Chitin-kin flee in desperation, faces hollow with despair. They seem to have long accepted this life of running. The males who charged forward moments ago have already become prey. Blood splashes everywhere. Watching from a distance, I feel a pang of guilt. The losses this primitive tribe is suffering are devastating. As I stride forward, the fleeing Chitin-kin feel the ground shaking beneath them. In the ancient wild forest, countless beasts erupt in panic and scatter. Even the mightiest creatures have no time to react before a foot crashes down from above and crushes them flat. I catch up to the fleeing Chitin-kin warriors and stomp the shadow claws tearing at the fallen along the way. What in the world is that? How can anything be that huge? It's 10,000 times bigger than Fenba, the greatest beast alive, and it just crushed a shadow claw with one step. The Chitin-kin turn to look. A towering figure pierces through the clouds above, like an ancient colossus walking through the sky. They scream and collapse to the ground. I understand every word they say. Their shock doesn't faze me at all. To them, I might as well be a god. Run! Run! It's no use. We're not even as big as one of its hairs. Countless fleeing Chitin-kin crumple to the ground. But amid the screaming, one young Chitin-kin stubbornly tilts his head up toward the sky and shouts at me, "Are you here to eat us too? The beast killed my father, my mother, killed my older brother. Why are we so weak?" I'm surprised by this young one's courage. Something stirs in me. You're the one. I gently reach down and lift him into my palm. The young Chitin-kin's mind goes completely blank. The giant's palm stretches out like an endless continent, and he is no bigger than the lines on that palm. He looks up. The colossus's eyes blaze like twin suns in the sky. Because I've hidden my true face from all beings in the sandbox, they can only see a blurred figure radiating soft, hazy light. I hold this tiny creature in one hand, my gaze calm. "Gilgamesh, do you want to change all of this?" The young Chitin-kin trembles violently and screams from my palm. "You can talk? There's an intelligent colossus in this world? And why are you calling me Gilgamesh?" I hold him level with my eyes and answer calmly. A name is one of the first expressions of intelligence. Gilgamesh suddenly flares with emotion. "We can both speak, we're both intelligent beings. So why won't you save us? You're so powerful, so mighty. Why?" The Chitin-kin have no idea what I truly am. They think I'm simply a giant intelligent beast, and I don't plan to correct them. I carry Gilgamesh in my palm and stride across mountains and rivers, flattening trees and creatures beneath my feet. I tilt my hand so he looks down, and my voice booms across the sky. "Look at this world. Every species is equal. You are no different from any plant or animal here. Why should I save only you, just because you're capable of thought?" Gilgamesh falls completely silent. Then, slowly, something dawns on him. "No one is coming to save you. No one can. Don't wait for a savior. Only you can save yourself. But I can give you the tools of civilization, so you can save yourselves." Gilgamesh stands in my palm, staring down in awe. It's the first time he has ever seen the world from above the clouds. Mountains and rivers shrink beneath him. Countless beasts stampede and roar below the giant's feet, a sight of overwhelming, savage grandeur. What a breathtaking view from these heights. And what a terrifying, awe-inspiring kind of power. His voice trembles as he speaks. "Then what is civilization?" I never planned to explain civilization to a newborn race, but I think for a moment then give my answer. Civilization is the flame, the knowledge, the order, and above all, the power that intelligence uses to protect itself. At the words "protect itself," Gilgamesh falls into a daze. I set him on my shoulder, walk back to the Grand Canyon, and plant the miniature welcome pine from my backpack into the ground. It's only 60 centimeters tall in the real world, but to this miniature land, it is an endless divine tree that vanishes into the clouds. Looking up, the massive canopy disappears into rolling mist with no end in sight. If you want the power of civilization, prove your courage. Climb the divine tree. This is your trial, a trial of wisdom and courage. As I speak, I place the custom alloy blade and a kerosene-soaked match at the top of the tree. Then I think for a moment and add a capsule containing termite genes, a byproduct from the Chitin-kin experiment. My voice thunders across the sky once more. These are the three gifts of civilization. First, EA, the Sword of Severance. It is the weapon that protects civilization. Unlike the savage beasts that fill this world, only a species that can use tools deserves to be called intelligent. Second, the torch, burning with searing flame. It is the bridge that sustains civilization. To master fire is to begin civilization. Third, the blood of power. Only the bravest warrior alive can drink it. Survive its trial and you will gain strength beyond compare. Fail, and you will die. If you want to change the fate of your people, climb the divine tree before the torch burns out and claim all three gifts. I gently set the young Chitin-kin back on the ground, then stride away while he stares after me in stunned silence. The moment I step out of the orchard, I crank the sandbox's time flow up 100-fold. That match, which would only burn for a few seconds in real time, will now burn for days inside the sandbox. I raise my binoculars and watch. Young Gilgamesh sets his jaw and begins to climb. From my perspective, his movements are so fast they leave nothing but a blur. In just a few seconds he falls countless times, but after about 10 more seconds, he finally reaches the top. But in reality, for Gilgamesh inside the sandbox, he has long since lost count of how many times he fell. At the very top of the divine tree, standing on the lush green canopy, Gilgamesh raises the sword high and seems to be shouting something, then blurs again and climbs back down. Curious, I use my creator's power to replay the scene at the treetop. I see Gilgamesh conquer the tree and raise Ea, the Sword of Severance, in a wide arc above his head. He gazes down at the world below. His black shell plate gleams. His face is set with absolute confidence. We have intelligence just as they have size. Every one of our people will have divine power, strength that makes every beast run in fear. I will lead my people to the top of this world and scatter the flame of civilization across the land. Atop the divine tree, in that ancient age, this moment is recorded for eternity. Tens of millions of years later, the oldest Yanli dynasty, which once flourished brilliantly before vanishing like a spark, is unearthed by archaeologists, who discover an epic history written in the name of the great king. The oldest known text, the Yanli Genesis records, the wise colossus stood 10,000 feet tall, face divine, crushing mountains and rivers as it came. It planted the divine tree, set the trial of wisdom, and gave the three gifts of civilization to the young hero King Gilgamesh. When I wake up the next morning, 100 years have passed inside the sandbox. For Chitin-kin, whose average lifespan is 40 to 50 years. That's 2 full generations. I wonder with anticipation, after 2 generations, has the young Gilgamesh already died of old age? The answer is no. He's very much alive, and he surprises me greatly. In the first 10 years after I left, Gilgamesh led the Chitin-kin as they continued to flee. He marveled that the world held something so extraordinary. Flame that cooked food, drove off beasts in the night, and kept the cold at bay on freezing nights. No wonder the wise colossus said fire is where civilization begins. And Ea, the Sword of Severance, proved unstoppable in this ancient jungle. With it, Gilgamesh cut down countless fierce beasts, keeping his people alive just long enough to finally fight back. In the second decade, Gilgamesh shed his youth and entered his 30s. He grew tall and powerful, the greatest hunter among the Chitin-kin, called the Hero King by his tribe. He even burned the land to enrich the soil, and began the first crude forms of farming. He was arrogant and domineering, answering to no one. The wise colossus had placed the 3 gifts of civilization in his hands. He understood clearly that civilization means preserving knowledge and history, so he boldly invented a system of writing to record his people's history, cuneiform script, transforming the language entirely. Convinced he was the first intelligent being to build a civilized world, he documented his own history in a book and sang its praises, shamelessly naming it the Genesis. He was brutal and tyrannical, an absolute dictator, yet utterly magnetic. He had 131 wives in his tribe, all bearing his children. Most of his offspring were strong and capable, inheriting both his build and his mind. But the Chitin-kin only lived 30 to 40 years on average. Gilgamesh is now in his 30s. The bold warrior who once swung Ea above his head has entered the twilight of his life. In a treehouse built from timber, a fire roars in the hearth. Gilgamesh sits calmly in a great chair woven from shadowclaw hide, murmuring to the flames, "That is the flame of civilization given to me by the wise colossus. How beautiful, like a dancing crimson blossom." Gilgamesh's once powerful frame has grown old. He turns to look at the rows of beast skulls hanging on the walls, trophies from every fearsome creature of this land. His life has been glorious enough, brilliant enough. He achieved what he dreamed of in his youth. He is content. The next chief has already been chosen. His son Altoria, no less capable than him, ready to lead the tribe to new heights. Gilgamesh feels it clearly. His life is drawing to an end. Death comes for every living thing. He has almost made his peace with it. Then he quietly takes out the blood of power and sighs. There's nothing left to worry about. The wise colossus once said, "Only the bravest warrior in the world can drink this third gift." Am I that warrior? Let me find out. A hero in his twilight. His clouded eyes flicker briefly. A flash of a life lived in glory. Tears fall without warning. He pierces his arm in silence and pours the blood of power into the wound. Agony, unlike anything he has ever felt, tears through him. Gilgamesh writhes and collapses to the ground. This aging hero has survived countless battles, but never has he gasped like this. At last he endures. He slowly rises. His long hair has turned pure silver. His face is flawlessly, divinely young. In the treehouse, a powerfully built young man with silver hair murmurs, The blood of power, what an extraordinary gift. Gilgamesh can feel the power surging through him in an endless stream. Meanwhile, out in the tribe, Gilgamesh's son Altoria stands on a high platform, raising Ea, the sword of severance, high above, declaring himself the new chief. Altoria is wise and noble, his talent and humility making him a far worthier leader than his brutal, arrogant father. Gilgamesh knew this. That's exactly why he chose Altoria to succeed him. But now everything has changed. Altoria is kind and deeply loved. He has always respected his father and never once coveted his position. But Gilgamesh will not tolerate any threat, not even a potential one. I have returned. The chief's seat is still mine. That day, cries of grief ring out through the tribe. The hero king Gilgamesh kills his own son and reclaims the chief's seat. His second life begins. In the first decade of his second life, he leads his people to build stone houses, unite the tribe, and officially enter the Stone Age, an era of resistance against the great beasts. Empowered by the blood of power, Gilgamesh now carries the strength of countless genes. He can uproot ancient trees with ease and move mountains with his bare hands. He leads his people in war against the beasts. After 13 years of relentless fighting, he sets his sights on the most terrifying creature on this land, Fenba, the 100-meter beast said to be the most powerful alive. Fenba is the undisputed king of this continent's beast era, the very creature that evolved all the way to the size cap I set. Gilgamesh and Fenba battle for 3 days and 3 nights. The earth cracks. Canyons collapse. Beasts flee through the forests. When it ends, Gilgamesh returns soaked in blood, Ea in one hand, dragging the corpse of the 100-meter Fenba with the other. With one hand, he pulls a carcass the size of a mountain ridge. Countless people from tribes across the land are awestruck to their core. They write epics in his honor and sing of his power. He is the greatest hero king in history. I will build a nation. The moment he returns, people from over a dozen tribes feel a weight lift from their shoulders. The crowd erupts. People weep with joy. They know it in their bones. Under this great hero king, the age of desperate wandering is over. They will never again live in fear of the beasts. A new age of civilization has begun. History is written by the victors. Gilgamesh omits the murder of his son and records only his glory, his valor, in the Yanli Genesis. The Yanli Genesis records, Gilgamesh drank the blood of power, slew the legendary Fenba, moved great stones to build walls, and founded the first city-state in history, Stoneheart City. Time marches on. Gilgamesh, now ruler of the entire land, turns his full attention to building civilization. He rules with iron focus, powerful and magnetic yet utterly merciless. He mints currency, refines language, builds cities, and ruthlessly divides his people into rigid castes. He drains the people's wealth and sends armies of warriors out to explore the edges of the world. He is his people's greatest hero king, and an unquestionable tyrant. In year 87 of the Yanli dynasty, Gilgamesh is 127 years old. Stoneheart City has swelled to tens of millions of people. Countless slaves are traded here. An arena has been built for the amusement of the nobility. Those who lived through the tribal days are long dead. Centuries have passed. Their descendants remember nothing of the suffering their ancestors endured. In comfort, they rot. But the king of Yanli remains as fierce as ever. In the dim, shadowy royal hall of Stoneheart, a tall and strikingly handsome man stands calm before a throne carved from white bone, Ea never leaving his side. Your Majesty Gilgamesh, great king of Yanli and lord of the city-states, we have mapped the entire world. Hanming, the star envoy and royal minister, bows deeply and recounts everything with fervent enthusiasm. Then tell me, what does our world look like? Gilgamesh fixes his sharp gaze on the minister, his eyes cutting straight through to the blue sky beyond the palace walls. The warriors, sent out in all directions, spent decades exploring, and many died making the journey. Only now do they return with the answer. Hanming gestures dramatically. Our world has a round sky and a square earth. The sky arcs infinitely above. The land is a perfect square, with a great ocean at its center and mountains and rivers all around. To ride the fastest beast in a straight line from one edge of the world to the other and back takes more than 20 years. On the throne, Gilgamesh is silent for a long moment, then speaks. That will do. You are dismissed. Yes, your majesty. Hanming rises to leave, then pauses and turns to look at his king one last time, eyes full of reverence. This great hero king led them out of the caves and built a tribe. He carried them from an age of farming into the Stone Age and beyond into the age of city-states. He slaughtered Fenba, the most terrifying beast king alive, and ushered in one age of civilization after another. More than 30 years ago, Hanming was just a young wanderer when his majesty summoned him to the palace and charged him with mapping the world. 30 years later, returning to Stoneheart City with the mission complete, he is no longer a young man. He is a trembling elder, eyes clouded, not long for this world, and yet his majesty looks exactly as he did 30 years ago. Not a trace of time on him. What a truly extraordinary ruler. Hanming's body shakes, his eyes burning with devotion. In these past 100 years, his majesty has not once shown the full extent of his power. No one knows how strong he truly is anymore. Perhaps in the years ahead, this immortal king will lead the Yanli people into the next age of civilization. Our world, round sky, square earth. When the palace is empty at last, Gilgamesh turns those words over in his mind and sighs for a long time. He runs his hand gently along the blade beside him, like a companion that has never left his side through all these endless years. And yet, Ea, I have searched the entire world, and found no answer to how you were made. Gilgamesh strokes the blade in disbelief. What is this material? What beast's bone? What kind of craft could produce this? The truth is this world was never meant to be a real world. I never buried ore in the sandbox, so the civilization inside can never advance beyond the Stone Age. In their understanding of the world, the word metal will never exist. To them, this gleaming, unbreakable material is something mysterious, powerful, and utterly one of a kind. We found the edge of the world, and still not a trace of the great wise Colossus. Where does it live? The civilization the wise Colossus possesses is simply beyond comprehension. This sword it gifted me is the greatest treasure I have ever held, and yet, is this blade that built an entire civilization not also a warning? The power called civilization, I have grasped only a fraction of it. Everything else remains unknown. The mystery of how this sword was made fills him with dread. Ea hangs over him like a blade suspended above his head, poised to fall at any moment and take his life. The power of civilization, how desperately I want it all. Gilgamesh sits on the throne like a lion that has slept for ages, his gaze drifting slowly into the distance. His mind drifts back, over 100 years ago. That towering figure, the Colossus of 10,000 feet, radiating light divine by nature, its vast palm cradling young Gilgamesh, looking out across the world, bestowing the three gifts of civilization. The most unforgettable moment of his life, still vivid as if it were yesterday. My life is ending again. The blood of power no longer works for me. I want to live a third life. Great wise Colossus, I want to see you again. Unfortunately, at that moment, I'm having dinner and chatting with my neighbor, and I don't hear Gilgamesh's prayer at all. Even if I had, I wouldn't have answered. What lives and dies of old age must die. No one lives forever. Gilgamesh has already lived a legendary life that even I envy. Glorious, celebrated, larger than life. What more could he want? But I've underestimated how desperately he clings to life. After tasting death once and coming back, he is now terrified of it in a way he never was before. This hero king wants a third life. Year 102 of the Yanli dynasty. Gilgamesh is 142 years old. This legendary king, who has already lived 3 times longer than any common person, begins to show signs of aging. He erupts in fury, shaking the entire kingdom. He issues a royal decree mobilizing the whole nation to search for the wise Colossus and summons alchemists and sorcerers from every corner to brew longevity elixirs and research dark magic. Massive numbers of beasts are slaughtered across the ancient forests, their body parts harvested for experiments. Even the once thriving shadow claws are nearly driven to extinction. History enters what will be known as the notorious era of tyranny. 13 years later, a court sorcerer produces a longevity elixir that successfully extends Gilgamesh's life, but tolerance builds quickly. After several doses, it stops working entirely. Gilgamesh slides back into unstoppable decline. Death cannot be avoided by any living thing, not even the greatest of heroes. Year 145 of the Yanli dynasty. 30 more years have passed. Gilgamesh can feel his life draining away at a terrifying speed. This once mighty old man sits motionless on his throne, eyes closed, murmuring to himself, "My life is nearly over. I don't want to die. Not yet." After sitting in silence for 3 days, he opens his aged eyes and makes his peace with time. He begins selecting candidates for the next king. The whole dynasty is in an uproar. The great king is dying. The immortal hero king Gilgamesh is actually going to die, yet no one dares speak of it openly. The last time his life waned, Gilgamesh named his most trusted son Altoria as successor, then killed him with his own hands when he reclaimed his second life. No one wants to be the next Altoria. But Gilgamesh proves once again why he is the cleverest king. He issues an order: every throne candidate will receive the blood of power, gaining strength equal to his own, with nothing to fear from him, and each will be granted the right to build a second city-state of their own. The announcement shocks the entire nation. Merchants, slaves, commoners, nobles, and craftsmen flood the palace gates. Countless people pass the trials, only to die from the blood of power's rejection. Only 2 survive: Enkidu, the forest warrior, and Randall, the plains warlord. Each receives the blood of power and goes on to build a city-state of their own. 2 next-generation kings powered by the blood of power have risen. They will take the throne and succeed the dying Gilgamesh, leading the Yanli civilization into its next age. Civilization began with Gilgamesh. It cannot end with him. Year 175 of the Yanli dynasty. 3 kings rule side by side. The city-states enter an unprecedented golden age, and then Gilgamesh feels death arrive for real. He makes one final effort, summoning craftsmen to build a temple of the wise Colossus, more magnificent than any palace he has ever built. Inside the massive stone temple, a towering statue of a giant stands at its center, the radiant Colossus of 10,000 feet, holding the young hero king in one palm, eyes calm, gazing down upon the world, its whole form blazing with divine white light. That day, Gilgamesh leads his ministers and every one of his millions of subjects in a nationwide act of worship at the temple, hoping the wise Colossus will feel his sincerity. If only I could see the wise Colossus one last time before I die. Tears stream down Gilgamesh's aged face. Nearly 100 years have passed. Now, on the verge of death, Gilgamesh leads the entire royal court to the temple and makes his second plea. Great wise Colossus, Gilgamesh wants to see you again. The one wish this hero king carries to the end of his life. Just one more meeting with the being that gave him the 3 gifts of civilization. The ceremony is so enormous that even I, out on a walk, suddenly receive a message from the creator's mind. I'm moved. I decide to go see this old acquaintance, and besides, it's time I put a stop to what the Chitin-kin have been doing. I never expected that in just a few days of accelerated time, they would have destroyed countless ecosystems and driven so many species to extinction, all for the sake of Gilgamesh's dream of immortality. I reset the sandbox's time flow to normal and stride in. At that moment, every creature in the sandbox feels it. The ground trembles beneath them. Mountains, rivers, the ocean, everything shakes. Trees are crushed underfoot, massive footprints are left in valleys. Beasts flee the forests in every direction. Slowly, even Stoneheart City begins to tremble. What's happening? Is the city going to fall? At that very moment, Gilgamesh is leading the court in worship before the stone statue, and he feels it. For the first time, the aged face of the great hero king breaks into a look of pure, childlike joy. After 200 years, the one who gave me the 3 gifts of civilization has finally returned. I look out over Stoneheart City, home to tens of millions, and feel a quiet sense of awe. From my perspective, it's no bigger than a basketball court, but considering it was built by the tiny Chitin-kin, it is truly magnificent. I look down at the delicate temples and altars below. Beneath the great stone statue, the silver-haired aged hero king looks up at me, EA in hand, tears streaming down his face. I lower my gaze to this weeping hero, the small, raw, young Chitin-kin I once held in my palm, the one who stood at the very top of the divine tree, raising EA to the sky and roaring. He has grown old now, approaching the end of his years, and yet that fierce, burning spirit of his youth feels like yesterday. Gilgamesh, have these years been good to you? My voice is soft, yet it cuts through the clouds and falls across the great city below. Gilgamesh leans on the sacred sword and trembles. Well enough, I suppose. His voice is dry and hoarse. He stares up at the colossus piercing the clouds. Even now, even having seen it before, the sight moves him. The colossus of 10,000 feet rises straight into the sky, its frame seeming to hold up the entire heavens. Dense radiance hides its face. Through the clouds, a pure sacred glow bleeds through. The majestic colossus gazes down over all of Stoneheart City, towering, solemn, divine. No words in any language can capture what it looks like. It's real. It's actually real. Every one of the city's tens of millions, wealthy merchants in fine leather robes and slaves in rags alike, every commoner and craftsman sets down whatever they're doing and steps out of their home, standing in the streets, heads tilted back, staring up at the colossus that pierces the sky. This is the wise colossus of legend, the one who gave us civilization, and it truly is 10,000 feet tall. What a being, as great as the sun, the moon, the stars themselves. Everyone stands frozen in awe, minds blank, longing, fear, wonder, all of it flooding together, becoming something that can only be called devotion. Gilgamesh looks at the stunned faces of the ministers around him and lets out a quiet laugh. He remembers feeling exactly the same way the first time he saw the wise colossus. After a long silence, Gilgamesh tilts his head up, his eyes burning with longing. Wise colossus, you entrusted civilization to me over 100 years ago. I have done it. 10,000 feet above. I let my voice fall through the clouds like a rolling wave crashing across Stoneheart City below. Your deeds will be written into the Yanli Genesis for all time. You will be remembered as the greatest first-generation hero king in the history of Yanli civilization. The generations after you will sing of Gilgamesh. Centuries of glory, passed down in legend. That's not what I want. Gilgamesh suddenly surges with emotion. Then what do you want? I want eternal life, the same as yours. Gilgamesh looks up at the towering colossus, his whole being aching with desire. I will give up everything. Everything. Teach me the secret of immortality. I say nothing. This king has everything the world has to offer. Glory, power, wealth, the entire world at his feet. And still it is not enough. Immortality. I want it too. I'm dying of a terminal illness, hovering on the edge at any given moment. I am deeply envious of the epic Gilgamesh has made of his life. Gilgamesh, you are too greedy. I don't have the secret to immortality. I look calmly at this king walking toward his end. The cycle of life and death is the law of nature. It's not mine to rewrite. At the end of a life, every living thing wants to keep living. In that moment, status and rank mean nothing. Every boundary between civilizations disappears, whether emperor or slave. Countless civilizations have risen and fallen across the ages. Emperor or insect, none escape the dust of death. I take one long look at Gilgamesh, then gaze down at the kingdom below with a heavy heart. Impossible! Gilgamesh forces the word through his ragged throat, staring up at the divine face shrouded in clouds. You are lying. You can do it. You absolutely can. His eyes burn into me with blazing intensity. His frame stands as towering as a mountain range, as solid as bedrock. Over 200 years have passed. The blood of power has sustained him all this time, yet age has never truly touched this great giant. To him, centuries feel like yesterday. The wise colossus appears immortal in his eyes. What terrifying power. What an endlessly coveted lifespan. Gilgamesh's lips tremble. He suddenly throws his head back and roars. So you came in answer to my call. Have you come to witness my death? The pitiful end of a wretched life, shaking and dying of old age? Gilgamesh, I have come to see you off. I have no power to extend your life. I sigh and continue. I am also here for a second handover of civilization, and to deliver a warning. Your civilization has grown too savage. You have driven countless species to extinction, razed forests, slaughtered the great beasts. You have trampled this entire continent. True civilization is not built on brutality, nor on savagery. I am ordering you to stop the killing. Despite his age, Gilgamesh is still powerfully built. He suddenly rises to his feet, trembling. His eyes blaze like twin fires, burning fiercer by the second. This white-haired old man surges forward one step. The killing will never stop. Neither Neither will I. Do you know what it has been like carrying the sword you gave me, EA? It has hung over my head like a blade of judgment. It gave me tremendous power but also a fear unlike anything else. And today, I will draw that sword with my own hands. Scribe Bayman, step forward and record this moment in the history of our civilization. I speak, you write. At the crimson desk, Scribe Bayman silently lifts his quill. He unrolls a sheet of gray hide. Please speak, your majesty. The history of humanity's struggle against nature is a history of courage and glory. I commissioned the Yanli Genesis to preserve that history for those who come after. Now let history record the courage I show in this moment. Let future generations understand the spirit of those who came before. Gilgamesh draws a heavy, rasping breath. His aged body leans on his staff as he booms out. In year 175 of the Yanli dynasty, the hero king Gilgamesh, crowned for over a century after slaying the legendary beast Fenba, takes the field once more. With the full might of the kingdom, he lures forth the untouchable wise colossus from on high. He raises his sword and strikes the wise colossus down. I watch all of this in silence from above. My feelings are tangled, and I am genuinely stunned. Last time he killed his own son. This time he means to slay a god, but I quickly steady myself. What Gilgamesh is doing looks reckless on the surface, but it is completely in character. The first time he faced death, this hero king came back and killed his own beloved son with his bare hands. The second time death closes in, he turns his sword on me, the one who granted him the 3 gifts of civilization. Perhaps I should have seen this coming from the very start, when I chose from a crowd of trembling souls, the one who dared to shout his questions up at a giant 10,000 feet tall. I should have known what that would mean. He has never known fear in his life. Raising his sword against me now is simply who he is. It is in his nature. I keep my expression calm. Gilgamesh, this is my final warning. Stop this madness. This is savagery, not civilization. What you do next will cost you dearly. No price is heavier than death itself. Gilgamesh slowly opens his blood-red eyes. It is as if he has returned to his youth, that wild fire rekindled after so long. Just as I once faced Fenba ready to die, today I will slay the wise colossus. I will seize its civilization. I will claim its power. I will achieve true immortality. I will lead my people to challenge a god. Gilgamesh lets out a thunderous roar. This is the first clash of civilization against civilization. One intelligent civilization rises against a one-of-a-kind wise colossus. Even if you once guided us, you now stand in our way. He raises his sword high. The wind whips his silver-white hair into wild chaos. Then, a deep and resonant bell toll rings out across the entire city. The whole of Stoneheart City erupts in that instant. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers surge forward, forming dense and disciplined battle lines. I watch it all and sigh. So Gilgamesh had been planning this move against the wise colossus for over a decade. Today was just the trap to draw me out. If I refused his terms, he would simply come and kill me. Bold and brilliant. Seen in that light, he truly is a great tyrant. At the same moment, far away in a vast city on the open plains, the warrior chief Randall stands calmly before his palace. Even across that vast distance, he can still see the figure towering into the clouds. What a perfect and awe-inspiring form of life. Shaken to his core, his pupils narrow to a point. It is time to act. If it were not for the need to find allies, given your majesty Gilgamesh's iron-fisted arrogance, how could he ever have shared the precious blood of power with anyone else? This moment was always his true goal. Randall rips his sword free, raw warrior energy blazing from every inch of him. He shouts, "March! History will remember this great moment. In year 175 of the Yanli dynasty, the Yanli people will slay the wise colossus and return bearing the blood of immortality." Meanwhile, near the royal capital, beneath the world tree that once pierced the sky, the ancient tree once used to test the 3 gifts of civilization now cradles a sprawling forest citadel. At the very top of the world tree, Enkidu, champion of the forest, leans on a wooden staff and silently watches the terrifying giant piercing the distant sky. Several disciples stand quietly behind him. "Master, it is time to leave. A promise to the king must be kept." Someone murmurs. "No," Enkidu sighs. "The forest citadel will do nothing." Even from this distance, the sheer terror radiating from that giant presses down on his chest like a crushing weight. "Is Master afraid?" A blunt disciple cannot help but ask. The 3 most powerful kings of the Alliance are fighting together. Even the legendary wise colossus may not be unbeatable. I am not afraid. I do not fear death. I fear throwing away something more important than life. My civilization and my wisdom will not let me slaughter the one who gave us those gifts and saved our kind. To betray the wise colossus who granted us civilization would make us no better than beasts. The disciples fall silent. Their master is one of the 3 most powerful leaders among the great cities. He is the great forest hero who survived the trial of the blood of power. And yet now, he chooses to defy the king's order. "I have defied the royal command. The crime is unforgivable. Cut off my head. If his majesty wins, carry it to the royal palace. My crime is defiance of the crown. Under his majesty's absolute rule, defiance alone means death. This is entirely my decision. I ask that no punishment fall upon the citadel. If the wise colossus wins, then carry my head to it instead. Beg the great being for forgiveness. Let the wise colossus know that we still have those who truly carry civilization forward, that we are not purely savage. Beg it not to wipe out our people entirely. Leave us one thread of hope." Master Enkidu stands at the top of the world tree, arms spread wide. Kenzo is silent for a long moment, then steels himself. Blood blooms in the air. With his own hands, Kenzo severs Enkidu's head. One of the greatest heroes civilization has ever known, the Forest King Enkidu, does not resist at all. Kenzo stares at the calm, familiar face on Enkidu's severed head. He wraps it in, hide without a word. Then suddenly, a sharp ache hits his chest. Dimly, he knows something priceless in his life is slowly shattering. On the ground below, Countless arrows rain upward at once, the finest army in the land, yet to me they are nothing but a swarm of ants. Their arrows are sharp enough but carry far too little force. Swords and spears stab into my thick denim, not even grazing the skin beneath. Not even their finest soldiers can pierce its clothing. I should have known. The elite army that has conquered forests and felled countless great beasts is utterly useless before the wise Colossus. The words have barely left my mouth when Gilgamesh explodes into motion with a single leap, flashing to my knee in the blink of an eye. I cannot help but feel a flicker of surprise. That speed is incredible. For an ant to launch itself like a flea with that kind of terrifying force, that is no small thing. I swing my hand down in a swat, but this ancient hero king, sword in hand, dodges it with stunning agility. Gilgamesh keeps up his blazing speed, darting left and right, scrambling up my denim with each stab of his sword carrying crushing weight. So this is the wise Colossus? Even the air it stirs when it moves nearly blasts me off my feet. Your Majesty, Randall is here. Randall arrives, lightly vaulting 7 or 8 meters into the air and clinging to my pant leg. I reach out and grab for Randall. Faced with a hand as vast as a mountain, this warrior king proves equally nimble. Years of battling great beasts have forged in him extraordinary combat instincts. He earns every bit of his title. You two are impressive, but the test ends here. With that, I thrust my palm out, driving it toward Randall at blinding speed. His face goes pale. He has no time to react. He is sent flying in an instant. A split second later, I swing again. A strike that could shatter mountains aimed straight at Gilgamesh. Damn it. Gilgamesh's face floods with shock. He catches barely a heartbeat to react, swinging a breathtaking sword slash that intercepts my palm. The blow crashes against the blade. His entire body is hurled backwards and he plummets. Just one exchange and he is already defeated, and I could only manage to break his skin. Gilgamesh crashes to the ground with a bitter laugh, blood pouring from his mouth. I watch this extraordinary man with a complicated feeling. Though defeated, he has not shown a trace of fear, even knowing the gap between us was an unbridgeable abyss. Gilgamesh is a man of contradictions and raw strength, impossibly magnetic, domineering, arrogant, and proud, and now fading at last. I feel a genuine pang of pity and sorrow, but his end is something I truly cannot change. Randall is also coughing up blood now, his chest heaving violently. He stares up at the giant in the sky, and his eyes hold no fear either. He made his peace with death before he ever stepped onto this battlefield. The warriors of Yanli never fear dying. He only laughs bitterly. The gap is that enormous. What in the world were we even fighting against? Do you regret it? I ask softly, sighing. Golden light wraps around my entire body, my towering form radiating the mystery and majesty of an eternal being. Regret? No. This was simply a choice. Gilgamesh spits out another mouthful of blood. In this moment, the Yanli civilization declares defeat. To have challenged such a vast being and lost, they all know what this means. The end of the world is coming. I turn and look at the army in full retreat, the ground filled with the screams of those losing their minds. Annihilation, extinction. They howl in terror, they laugh in despair, clearly gone mad. I never imagined I would hold this much sway over so many lives. They laugh in despair, clearly gone mad. I never imagined I would hold this much sway over so many lives, to hold the rise and fall of an entire civilization in my hands. I look at this fading hero king. I speak quietly. Will destruction come for us? Just as we destroyed so many species of great beasts, will you destroy us? Will you avenge them? Man's on the edge of ruin. Yet even now there is not a shred of fear in him. I think for a moment, then answer. Since you will not heed my warning, I will destroy you. You have torn apart the ecology of the entire world. You have driven too many species to extinction. I cannot allow you to keep multiplying without limit. Gilgamesh hears this and lets out a relieved smile. You once answered my question about what civilization is. Will you answer me a few last questions now? Our king is actually asking the wise Colossus to answer him. Everyone around them holds their breath, all eyes lifted toward the towering giant. Several seconds of silence pass. The wise Colossus is silent too. Then suddenly, a voice of immeasurable depth pierces through the vast clouds and falls upon the shattered ruins of Stoneheart City below. Ask your questions. In that instant, the world seems to plunge into absolute silence. The blood-soaked earth goes utterly still. The countless soldiers in retreat all stop in their tracks and look back up at the giant in the sky. How will you destroy us? With water. I pause for a moment, then calmly add, I will send a great flood to wash away and swallow your entire civilization, erasing every trace you have ever left behind. In an instant, the earth holds its breath. Every soul falls deathly silent. Every soul falls deathly silent. This land is filthy, overrun with the wicked, so the wise Colossus will cleanse it with a great flood. But no matter how powerful the wise Colossus may be, how could it possibly unleash a flood to cover the entire world? This is no longer the power of a beast. This is something else entirely. Everyone gasps, faces pale with horror. For a moment, no one can find the words to describe this legendary being. My second question. This world is a flat square beneath a dome of sky. What exactly are you, wise Colossus? Why did you give us the spark of civilization? And why do you stop us from slaughtering other species? You say all living things are equal, the savage kinds, the intelligent kinds, even plants, all the same. Then what is this land to you? I lower my head slightly, looking at this hero king who has reached his final hour. The giant gazes down over all of Stoneheart City, and a vast voice settles into the earth. This land is a world I created. You are are all my children. The savage kinds, the intelligent kinds, the plants, every species is my child. Therefore you are all equal. The air seems to freeze. Every person on the ground lets out sharp, ragged breaths. The sound swells and spreads, building into wave after wave of frantic gasping. Gilgamesh is instantly struck speechless, his face a mask of pure disbelief. Then he begins to laugh. The laughter grows and grows until it becomes a wild, unbridled roar. Fascinating. Truly fascinating. What in the world were we even fighting? So the legendary wise Colossus is not a beast at all. Not as we imagined. It is the all-powerful master who created all things, the creator of the world itself. A being like this can only be called a god. The tribal people of this land have never had a concept of God, until now. I was arrogant enough to name the record of the civilization I built the Yanli Genesis, believing I had created a civilization. But the true creator was the wise Colossus all along. All living things are its children. What immeasurable power, and I dared to raise my hand against it. Gilgamesh's voice cuts off abruptly. Then laughter erupts toward the sky. The more he laughs, the more unrestrained it becomes. I feel nothing inside. The towering giant stands at the edge of the city, watching this laughing, broken king in silence. I have always been patient by nature, so I let his defiance and dying wildness pass without a word. One last question. How many days did it take you to create our world? Gilgamesh fires the question like a shot. It genuinely gives me pause. Back when I was reshaping the orchard into the sandbox, I had to dig up the soil, sculpt mountains and rivers by hand. Dig up the soil, that square patch of land took a full week to finish. So I answer honestly. It took me 7 days to create this land. 7 days. A god made all of creation in just 7 days. Gilgamesh is stunned. He collapses forward, laughing until tears stream down his face. In that moment, it is as if he hears something inside him shatter. The sound of a breaking heart. His pride, his defiance, all of it is crushed to dust. There is no grief greater than the death of the spirit. 7 days. He laughs on as his mind slowly fades, and in a daze he remembers standing as a child in the palm of a giant hand, asking the very first question he ever put to this being. What is civilization? Civilization is a spark. It is knowledge. It is order. And it is the greatest power an intelligent species has to protect itself. Gilgamesh's laughter grows louder and louder, rolling across the winds and the hills, across the rivers and the forests. All across this land, the Chitin-kin lift their heads in a daze, as if they can all hear the dying lament of the Yanli king. Countless people weep and cry out. The mournful songs of Yanli rise up, folk ballads of grief, the fall of a great king. On this day, at the edge of the city, the legendary hero king Gilgamesh walks to the end of his life and becomes dust in the pages of history. I sigh and watch the hero king go. I never wanted to take anything from you. Everything you wanted, every question you asked, I answered honestly. It is just that I truly have no power to give you immortality. I myself am even on the edge of death. Why did it have to come to this? The king is dead. Our king. The greatest hero king in history, Gilgamesh, who raised his sword against the creator, is dead. We have been defeated. Countless Chitin-kin wail across the land, consumed by madness. I watch all of it from above in silence. Where can these Chitin-kin even run? To the edge of the world? Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. Scribe Byman stands on the towering walls of Stoneheart City, watching the great hero king fall in defeat and die. Cold sweat soaks him as the terrifying truth sets in. I must record everything before I die. I have to leave the truth of this world for those who come after. The scribe shakes from head to toe, sweat drenching his arms. He had just finished recording Gilgamesh's heroic charge against the wise Colossus, and now with trembling hands he turns to the next page and begins recording a new chapter. The Yanli Genesis, Yanli Kingdom chapter. The wise Colossus is in truth the creator. In his final years, Gilgamesh grew arrogant beyond measure, daring to raise his sword against the creator. He sought to claim the blood of a god and seize immortality, and in the end he roused the creator's wrath. The creator looked upon the people of the earth and found their sins beyond redemption. The decision was made to destroy the Yanli civilization and bring down the great flood to wipe out all living things. The sky trembles, the earth cries out, throughout the city dread grips every soul, trembling, panicking, on the verge of breaking. Repent, the god's punishment will crush our shoulders, it will shatter our spines, the great flood will destroy our world, it will erase our civilization. And then, at that very moment, a young man with golden hair appears at my feet, carrying a bundle. He opens it, revealing a severed head inside, and calls out, "Great wise Colossus, the forest king Enkidu begs your forgiveness." I am slightly taken aback. Of the 3 kings, only 2 had come. The forest king had not. Instead, Kenzo kneels here, pleading, pressing himself hard against the ground. We Yanli people are not only savage. Master Enkidu proved that with his own death. He chose to defy the king's order rather than raise a sword against the one who gifted us civilization. We are not entirely lost to evil. Even as you bring down divine punishment, please leave the Yanli people one last thread of hope. Hearing this, learning of what Enkidu had done, I let out a long sigh. Truthfully, I never expected Gilgamesh to go that far. I never intended to wipe them out entirely, but their recklessness, their senseless and frenzied defiance, their cruelty and brutality still had to be answered for. Take your people and use the great world tree to build an ark. Keep at least 1 pair of seeds from every species on this earth, with whatever space remains. Fill it with the worthy people of Enkidu's forest citadel. I will bring the great flood at once. I turn and walk away. All around me, voices shake with relief and awe. We were defeated, but we are not destroyed. The flame of hope survives. Thank the Creator for this mercy. It is all because Forest King Enkidu showed the Creator our goodness. We are not savages. We still have the capacity for redemption. We still have hope. Praise Enkidu. Praise the great Forest King. Scribe Bayman weeps tears of joy and relief, watching the giant's retreating form, and begins writing furiously in the Yanli Genesis, recording Forest King Enkidu's act of righteousness that moved a god on the verge of ending the world, and one for those who had dared to defy the creator, a chance to survive. The god commands Kenzo to build the ark and flee the great flood. I head back to the yard, tidy things up a bit, and dig around in the corner of the garden to find the pressure washer Sunny and I had bought a while back on a shopping trip. I never thought it would come in handy so soon. In the short time it takes me to get the pressure washer ready, just 10 odd minutes, 120 days have already passed inside the sandbox. Countless figures blur past at accelerated speed. They fell the world tree that had stood since ancient times and built a massive ark. Aboard it they loaded seeds from every living creature, cubs and young of every great beast, every species in the world condensed into that one great vessel. Fortunately the sandbox is not that large, so everything is packed in fairly close together. Time to wash it all away. I step into the sandbox, raise the pressure washer from a distance of 10 odd meters, and sweep it steadily across. A torrent of white high-pressure water blasts into the city-state region of the garden. Vast swaths of trees collapse. The great city crumbles in an instant. Countless creatures flee from the forests, desperately trying to outrun the towering white flood behind them, but in the end, they are all swallowed up. Heaven and earth seem to shift color in an instant. Brilliant white, vast and boundless. Kenzo leads everyone aboard the ark, staring up at the sky in awe. It is a sky torn open from the deep, a sight of pure terror, as if the fountains of the abyss have all split apart. The windows of the heavens are thrown open. Endless white torrents pour down from the clouds, washing over every inch of the land. The ark alone floats upon the rising waters, while the entire world is swallowed beneath a vast white surge. The great flood falls like a colossal white waterfall from the highest reaches of the sky, roaring as it buries mountains and rivers alike beneath its current. What terrifying power. In a single moment, the world-ending flood descends. On the deck of the ark, merchants, nobles, commoners, and slaves all stand in stunned silence. They are the kindest, the most peaceable among their kind. The god has sent down the flood to cleanse a land soaked in sin. Those who were guilty are swallowed by the waters. On this day, the great flood ends the world. It is called the Day of Ruin. In the final glow of the Yanli civilization, Kenzo leads the last of the Yanli people aboard the ark and escapes the great flood. In a quiet corner of the vessel, Scribe Baemon sits clutching his quill. He collapses onto the deck in a daze, still lost in the image of that divine being. Our world is a flat square beneath a dome of sky. Our world was made by a god, made in just 7 days. What immeasurable power. Baemon's hands tremble, tears blurring his aged eyes. He begins to fill in the gaps with his own imagination, quietly reconstructing the 7 days of creation, and sets down the final passage of the Yanli Genesis. On the first day the god said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The god separated light from dark, calling light the day and dark the night. On the second day the god said, "Let there be air between the waters," and there was sky. On the third day the god said, "Let the waters under all the heavens gather into one place, and let the dry land appear." Water and land separated. The god called the dry land the continent, and the gathering of waters the ocean. On the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th days, all of creation was complete, and the god rested, blessing this day above all the previous 6. In the days that followed, people took the scribe's imaginings as the truth. It was as if the creator had personally laid out the 7 days of creation before them. But would a god stoop to explain such things to its humble children? No matter. People chose to believe the story. In it, the god rested on the 7th day, and people named that day the Holy Day of Rest. And so a custom was born across this land. People too would rest on that day. I keep the pressure washer going for a good while, making sure nothing is missed before finally switching it off. I carry it back to the storage room, and just like that, the board is reset. The Chitin-kin's endless slaughter and unchecked overpopulation had nearly pushed the sandbox to the breaking point. Now, with one pair of each species remaining, the ecosystem will eventually restore itself. I hope this time they show a little restraint. The Genesis core speaks up beside me. Even without your intervention, they would have destroyed themselves, consuming every species until nothing was left. This way, rebirth comes sooner. I let out a long, slow breath. I am not as fragile as you think. I do not need comforting. I just feel a little heavy inside, that is all. I am not as fragile as you think. The Genesis core continues. As a hive queen who has bred countless subjects and species, you are a great creator. You should be accustomed to the rise and fall of countless species. A vein pops in my temple. I am a man, not a hive queen. Stop saying that. They are all spores you cultivated one by one. Anyway, responsible population planning is essential for rebirth. I cut it off right there and drop into the chair by the yard gate, quietly eating a freshly peeled piece of fruit. I should go into town tomorrow and get a couple pounds of fruit. Stomach cancer means taking care of what you eat. After a long while, I pick up my black notebook again and write, "This era is the age of the great beasts." I had originally considered naming it the Beastaceous era, as a parallel to the Cretaceous and its age of dinosaurs. But since the Yanli people recorded it as the Genesis, I will simply name this era the Genesis era as well. Its Earth equivalent is the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, when a meteor struck from the sky and wiped out the dinosaurs. Here, it was a flood from the sky that ended the great beasts and the Chitin-kin. In my record of evolution, this will be called the Genesis mass extinction. I collect my thoughts, flip to the 4th page after the Dark Age, the Solar Age, and the Age of New Life. and write down the fourth era, Genesis era. The emergence of intelligent species. The Chitin-kin develop tribal and city-state civilizations, drive out the great beasts, and become the dominant species of the era. But their cruelty and savagery grows beyond what the heavens can endure. A great flood descends and wipes out all living things. The third mass extinction erupts, eliminating 99% of all species. After writing up the third mass extinction, I go to sleep. The next morning, as I wash my face and brush my teeth, I feel a terrifying surging power spreading through my entire body. My heart leaps with alarm. I immediately begin examining my own body. I look at myself in the mirror. My height has shot up out of nowhere to 1.83 meters. My features have grown refined and handsome, carrying an air of quiet depth. My build is powerful and solid, like a perfect Greek sculpture. Shirt off, all muscle. Shirt on, lean and sharp. This is the power feeding back to me from the third mass extinction, countless times stronger than the first two. I am now on par with some elite athletes. I squeeze my fist, feeling the explosive power packed into it. But this level of beauty and proportion, like a perfect Norse god, is honestly going to be a problem. Changing this dramatically all at once, Sunny is going to lose her mind. She will definitely accuse me of using some photo filter hack. I am so done. People are going to start studying me. Can I modify my genes? I suddenly ask the Genesis core. Dial back these appearance-enhancing genes. This level of perfection is way too conspicuous, the kind that would make people scream on the street. Honestly, my old appearance was already more than satisfying. Getting Sunny and the neighbors in the village to accept that had already been hard enough. Changing again like this is going to raise serious suspicion. The player has the innate ability to unlock the genetic lock. As a Chitin-kin hero, the player can modify their own genetic sequences. Shall I integrate Chitin-kin cells? I am already a Chitin-kin hero. The truth is, before, my body was too weak to handle the modification. Now that it is strong enough, it can finally receive the Chitin-kin cells. I do not spend long weighing whether to stay fully human. My life is already on the line. Sitting around waiting for cancer to take me while clinging to my humanity is not exactly thrilling. Being a normal person is not exciting at all. Being a creature of the Chitin-kin, now that is interesting. So I quietly say the words, integrate Chitin-kin cells. Fusion begins. In an instant, a tearing agony rips through the depths of my soul. Cold sweat breaks out all over my body. I collapse onto the bed, crying out in pain. Then I black out. By the time I come to, 3 hours have passed. My body is coated in dark gray residue. I rush to shower, change clothes, and come back to examine myself. My body feels different. Limitless potential hums beneath the surface. I am now a true Chitin-kin, possessing the gift of accelerated cell division, with the ability to adjust my own genes at will. I gently close my eyes, and in the dark inner space, I see a twisting double helix. Vast stretches of junk data in the human genome have been cleared out and optimized, leaving only the essential sequences behind. Most of the gene chain is now blank, but when I try to remove the cancer cells, the Genesis core returns a cold answer. Core genetic components cannot be removed. I take a slow, deep breath. There is no way to cut out the human genome itself. I will have to find another way to cure it. And then the Genesis core tells me something terrifying. Cancer cells are the body's own rebels. The stronger the host becomes, the stronger the cancer grows. In other words, now that I am stronger, the cancer cells have grown stronger too, multiplying wildly inside me. If I had absorbed even a little more power from this mass extinction, I might have died outright. I cannot help but feel a jolt of fear. I absolutely cannot absorb the feedback from a fourth mass extinction. I breathe deeply, stay on guard. In other words, even if the creatures in the sandbox run wild and wreak havoc in the short term, I cannot just wipe them out en masse. Stay on guard. In other words, no more resetting the board like that. I think back to Gilgamesh's raging, desperate final moments last night. They left me with my own terror and reverence for death. My stomach cancer has already progressed from mid-stage to terminal. Death is the one thing every living creature fears most. Can I actually survive this? I stand up and walk toward the yard gate. Terminal cancer does not leave much time. I have to push the evolution of civilizations forward, drive the emergence of extraordinary powers, and find within those powers something that can counter the cancer cells. I look toward the sandbox. Everything has withered. Barely a flicker of life remaining. One night has passed, which equals 40 to 50 years inside the sandbox. It is not fully recovered yet. The various species were each saved as a single pair and are slowly repopulating. They have also begun to follow the god's warning. All life is equal. Beyond the food they need to survive, they limit unnecessary killing, even helping other species breed and grow their numbers. Meanwhile, after the mass extinction, new species have quietly begun to emerge. Strange and wondrous, each one carries the fresh energy of life reborn after the end of the world. Things are stabilizing. Recovery is underway, but it is still too slow. My illness will not hold out much longer. I sigh. Should I open a second sandbox and build a new world? I consider creating a new sandbox world to run a separate evolution, one where civilization develops extraordinary power systems. But it is not realistic. The main sandbox in front of me has only just seen the first sparks of extraordinary power emerge. So I switch my thinking. Intelligence has no ceiling, and it will inevitably produce things that defy conventional evolution. Given that, maybe I should bring in other minds. Grinding away on my own is too limiting. Better to pool ideas with others, rope some people in. That is right. This time I want to go big. Evolving species alone is too lonely and too slow. I should bring others in to help simulate spore evolution. I think back to a sandbox game I used to play called Spore, where players start as a spore and evolve into all kinds of creatures. What if I built a small secondary sandbox, made it like an online game, let others enter through a device, treat the sandbox like a game, and evolve new species for me? With Chitin-kin technology, it is possible, but there is no kill and level up system. I nod. This is not a game to begin with. It is a real world. I plan to build it like an open world sandbox, something like Minecraft, with 10,000 times accelerated cell division turned on for players, letting them start as spores and evolve their species themselves. They control their own cell division, growth, evolution, and death, evolving entirely new life forms. A full run of spore evolution should take 2 to 3 days. This is just a spontaneous side idea. Nothing that will take too much effort. The main focus stays on the big sandbox. From each round, I will pick the most unique and promising species and add them into the main sandbox to enrich that world. After all, having only the Chitin-kin as the sole intelligent species is far too narrow. I have already seen firsthand that letting a single intelligent species dominate very easily destroys the sandbox. How many days will this take? About 3 days. Current technology already has VR headsets available that can serve as the interface. So I clear out a 30 square meter patch in front of the house and set up the small sandbox. I swing the hoe, shaping the sandbox environment from memory with practiced ease. My body is better now. Even with a terminal illness, I have the strength to work. One day later, a veteran Steam player named Chen Wenshan discovers this VR game called Spore Evolution in closed beta while hunting for obscure new titles. The description reads, Sandbox Life Sim, start as a single spore. Infinite possibilities for evolution, the ultimate choice for casual players. He scoffs at first, assuming it is just another clickbait title from some domestic developer, but the massive 73 gigabyte file size piques his curiosity. He downloads it, registers, and puts on his VR headset. No way, I can actually feel my body. It is like I'm really swimming in the ocean. Chen Wenshan's mind goes completely blank. He knows he has just touched something beyond imagination. But the moment the game starts, he cannot see a thing. He is still in spore form. A single-celled organism first needs to evolve eyes and a visual system. He dies countless times. Generation after generation, he breeds and evolves, finally developing eyes. Then a mouth grows, and he begins to hunt. But extinction comes fast. The eyes are too weak, and enemies keep ambushing him from blind spots. He even makes a trip to the library to dig through books on biological evolution. Half a day later, he finally evolves a species barely capable of survival. Countless sticky tentacles surround one massive central eye, with a small fang-filled mouth below. He laughs. I finally did it. Chen Wenshan, buzzing with satisfaction, guides his tentacle creature up onto the shore, stunned by the breathtakingly real mountains and rivers around him. Meanwhile, I am sitting at the yard gate eating an apple in the sun, watching this bizarre creature haul itself ashore in the distance. I am completely baffled. What kind of evolution even produces something like that? The eye takes up 2/3 of its entire body. Someone clearly had a very particular fixation on growing eyes. Those eyes are terrifying. 2/3 of its entire body. What a grudge against existence itself. By every rule of evolution, funneling that much energy into useless eyeballs should be a death sentence. And yet, I find it fascinating. Doesn't this look exactly like the evil eye demon from ancient mythology? 3 knocks at the door. Sunny is here with my food. I stand up and head over, and crush the evil eye creature flat under my foot. Splat. A smear of meat paste. Over in the game's sandbox, Chen's screen flashes failed again. He sits there completely baffled. His creature had finally evolved into something decent, crawled onto land, ready to conquer the world, and then it just gets stomped to death out of nowhere. Meanwhile, I open the door. Sunny hands me my food and peeks into the yard. How are you out here gardening all by yourself and looking so happy about it? Happiness is gardening. She stares at me, stunned. How are you? I don't know. You feel different somehow. Like you've got this whole aura now. Did you cheat code your life or something? I've restored my old appearance, sure. But after living through 3 mass extinctions, that superhuman presence doesn't just switch off. I press my hand to her forehead. Are you running a fever? She gives up trying to make sense of it and changes the subject. Oh right, don't you get bored sitting here all day? Want to come out with me sometime? I look at her. Are you serious? What happened to your girlfriend, by the way? Haven't seen her around. We broke up. After the diagnosis, after I quit, it was over. So at the peak of your life, you get terminal cancer, lose your job, lose your girlfriend, and end up rotting away in the countryside alone. That's genuinely sad. I could be your girlfriend before you die. Call it fulfilling a childhood dream. I volunteered with terminal patients before. I know how to take care of people. I can cook for you, take you out, keep you company, make your last days actually worth something. My last days. I'm speechless. I look at her with a half smile. You're serious? All the girlfriend duties included? Sunny flinches. She scrambles back a few steps, clutching her collar. This is a purely wholesome relationship. You're already dying, and you still want to take advantage of me? People always say fake friends are everywhere, so let's just be fake lovers. I'm actually very willing. There's a high school reunion this summer. Come with me. You're good looking. Showing up with you will make me look amazing. All my friends will be so jealous. Come help me pick outfits. It's not like you're doing anything. You've still got money. Since you have the time, let's spend it. One look and I know I've walked straight into a trap. This girl came to me because she needs clothes, money, and a presentable date. Now I have a fake girlfriend, which is really just a live-in babysitter situation. She burns out on everything fast, but she does cook fresh meals every day, so at least I don't have to keep going into town to eat. Stomach cancer means watching what goes in. Street food is out of the question. Back to what matters. I've been studying the evil eye creature. I killed one, but the species is still out there. Nearly extinct now, since 2/3 of their body mass is just eyeball. Natural selection has no mercy for that. But do they have transcendent species potential? Their minds are primitive, aggressive, vicious, but those massive eyes give them extraordinary spiritual force. Left alone, they'll definitely die out. But maybe they're like the Chitin-kin, just fragile at the start, with real power waiting underneath. I'm going to introduce them into the grand sandbox. Across its 100-acre expanse, I'll carve out a swamp. Layered with manure and waste, the ground will rot into rich soil. As microbes break it down, it'll ferment ferment into swamp gas, a thick, sticky, bubbling bog. Then I'll simply drop the evil eye creatures in. No competition here. Even the weakest can breed freely and multiply. Whether they'll eventually become the first transcendent beast, that's on them. Meanwhile, the game's sandbox has exploded. The very first player, Chen, posts a full review on the forum. The core claim, 100% real sensation. Whatever you evolve into, you feel everything that creature feels. Death means starting over with a new account. No guides, no shortcuts. At the end of the review, he writes, "My goal is to evolve into a legendary dragon, fly over to that courtyard where the giant is peeling apples, and take a dump on its head. Defecate on my head? You know what happened to the last species that tried to provoke me like that? I quietly add his name to the list. 100 slots filled instantly. Thousands online are begging for more closed beta access. How is that my problem? I'm not making money off this. Complain all you want. The day I listen, I lose. I have no interest in expanding this. It was always just a small personal project. Riot all you want, it won't change a thing. Unless something truly unexpected happens, it stays in closed beta forever. I refocus on the grand sandbox. That's the real work. The Yanli civilization of the last era only ever produced 3 transcendent beings, Gilgamesh among them. For the next civilization, I want a fully developed transcendent cultivation system to emerge. Ideally, a witch civilization. Back then, Gilgamesh had hired court dark sorcerers to research elixirs. That was the earliest seed of sorcery. I want a great witch to rise. One skilled in alchemy and elixirs, capable of creating something that can cure cancer. To build a complete transcendent system, the sandbox needs all kinds of mysterious, dangerous transcendent species as raw material for their research. I checked the swamp in the grand sandbox. One day has passed. The evil eye creatures have multiplied massively, and special variants are already emerging. A quiet rush of excitement. Over the past 100+ years, with no predators in their new environment, the evil eyes breed out of control, spreading everywhere. But overpopulation hits fast, competition spikes, food runs scarce, and they begin tearing each other apart. They start eating their own. Then slowly, one evil eye, unlike the rest, appears. It carries a strange spiritual force. Any creature it locks eyes with falls under its charm, walking willingly to its death. This first transcendent strain evil eye rises to the top instantly, becoming the apex predator of the swamp. With nothing to stop it, it breeds without limit. The weak are culled. Ordinary evil eyes are slaughtered in droves, until the entire swamp is filled with charm-capable descendants. A transcendent strain, wild, surging spiritual force. I feel a quiet tremor of awe. It took until after the 4th era for the first transcendent species to finally emerge. And right now, something else is happening in the grand sandbox. A group of Chitin-kin has wandered into the swamp. More than 200 years have passed. The Great Flood is generations behind them now. The heirs of Yanli wear animal hides now, no longer needing dense fur for warmth. Their dark body hair is thinned. Their outer shell has faded away. They stand up right now, pale skin revealed beneath. From fur-covered apes to near human. Their build grows closer to something broad and powerful, almost Western in form. They once had a brilliant, city-state civilization. Now they're back to crude farming villages. Everything they had was built on the foundation of one man, the hero king Gilgamesh. That great king stood alone and held down every beast in the world, placing the Yanli at the top of the food chain. But without him, they have nothing. No bronze, no iron, just crude stone spears and clubs. How do you fight the great beasts with that? And the one civilizational treasure, the Sword of Severance, sank with Gilgamesh into the endless deep of the Great Flood. Now the chief's daughter of the Babylon tribe, Moga, stands sighing. The Yanli era was dazzling. A one-man age of legend. Gilgamesh, the hero king. No wonder they carved his story into stone. Every moment of his glory. Our era is fading, collapsing. If the sword gifted by the gods hadn't been lost, even without the blood of power, we might not be struggling like this. Civilization, the power within our minds. I, Moga, want to know the path forward. How do we survive? Moga's expression is steady, the bravest and sharpest mind in the tribe. Physically weaker than the men, but her combat skill has beaten most of them. She turns to the warriors beside her. What did the scouting find? It's a swamp, a massive one, a warrior answers. Endless mud and murk, probably formed from pooling water after the Great Flood. The ecosystem inside is thriving. Fruit everywhere. Right, because I built this swamp with manure and waste. Of course the plant life exploded. Moga takes a slow breath, staring out at the black expanse of bog, about to mark this place as the tribe's next foraging ground, when something snaps in her. Wait, 2 people are missing. Everyone looks at each other. This has never happened before. Something is wrong. The great beasts are too large for the swamp. They'd sink. No signs of their presence either. Something small in this swamp is hunting us. Moga doesn't hesitate. She pulls the group back. All 20 of them retreat. But at that exact moment, something erupts from the bog. A gray-black, tentacled horror, its body draped in tendrils like rotting seaweed, all wrapping around one massive, blood-veined crimson eye that takes up 2/3 of its body. Beautiful. How can anything in this world look like that? Several warriors lock eyes with that vast, blood-laced gaze and see something like a goddess. They surge forward, unstoppable, stumbling toward it in a trance. Hey, stop! Don't go near it! Moga sees it instantly. Those massive eyes, they can charm prey into walking forward on their own. The 2 who vanished earlier, they walked right into it. They chose death without knowing it. She makes the call, abandon the charmed ones, run. But right then she stops. Her eyes burn. What a creature this is, weaker than us in every way, limp, boneless tendrils, those absurd oversized eyes, and yet it holds a power that defies all reason. It can destroy things far stronger than itself. Aren't we the same, just as small? A nameless flame ignites behind Moga's eyes. A terrifying thought takes root. I will take its power. Bring this tribe back from the edge. Kill it. Then we run. Everyone freezes in shock. She wheels around and raises her white feathered spear high. A shaft of light falls from above, cutting across her fierce, stunning face, like a war goddess stepped out of myth. Follow me. We kill it, and I carry the body home. More of them! They're coming! Someone roars. From the black depths of the swamp, more giant-eyed tentacle creatures drag themselves forward through the muck, agonizingly slow, almost laughable, but their power is horrifying beyond measure. If those eyes surround them, they're done. Even at the cost of death, one must die. Moga snatches up her stone spear and charges straight in, the tribe's most fearless warrior in this moment. One thrust, and a shriek tears out, sharp and ragged like a newborn crying. That fragile great eye bursts apart, spraying thick blood into the air. And then she stops, eyes blazing. What a creature! Weaker than us, limp tendrils, ridiculous giant eyes, and yet it holds a power beyond all understanding. It destroys things far mightier than itself. Aren't we the same, just as small? Why do they alone carry such a gift? That same nameless fire blazes in Moga's eyes. The same terrifying thought fully awake now. I will take its power. Bring this tribe back. Kill it. Then we run. The group gasps. She turns and raises her white feathered spear. Light falls across her cold, breathtaking face, a war goddess out of myth. Follow me. Kill it. I'm bringing the body back. More coming! From the dark depths of the swamp, more tentacled creatures drag themselves closer, slow and grotesque, laughably slow, but that power is devastating. If those eyes close in around them, it's over, whatever it costs. Moga seizes her stone spear and charges, one clean thrust. A shriek like a crying infant, sharp and raw. That giant fragile eye explodes, blood and stench flooding the air. Thick, viscous fluid splashes across Moga's face. She hoists the carcass one-handed, spins to leave, tearing its sticky tendrils free, and finds herself surrounded by 7 or 8 blood-eyed creatures. Her face goes pale. Follow me. We cut through. What follows is a brutal slaughter. Nearly 30 hunters, almost all dead. They could have run, but hesitation got them surrounded. Only 3 escaped this death-cursed swamp. All of them, gone. Even Moga, unyielding as stone, breaks down and weeps. The tribe's strongest men have been dying in beast hunts for years. A tribe that once numbered nearly 1,000 is down to 100 able-bodied men, and now 1/3 of those are gone. They're on the edge of extinction. Our people were going to die out eventually anyway. Might as well go down swinging. Moga breathes deep, eyes on the evil eye carcass. All that blood, let it mean something. Let the evil blood of this creature actually be useful. Over the years, countless people have tried merging with the blood of great beasts, hoping to gain the power of a hero king like Gilgamesh. All of them died, except those touched by the divine blood of power. Only the blood of something truly special seems to hold any chance. Maybe this creature's blood is a different kind of power. When Moga returns with the few survivors, her father has already lost his composure. Have you lost your mind? Do you understand what you did? The middle-aged man stands in black hide, heaving for breath from the high ground, gasping. Are you insane? Do you know what you've done? The man in black hide stands above her, breathless. I'm not insane. We have no road left. Better to fight than to rot. If we can find a second Gilgamesh, someone to lead this civilization forward, that is the only path that doesn't end in extinction. That is impossible. The chief shakes his head slowly. Only the divine blood of power, gifted by the gods, can bring true strength. And merging with something this evil, even if it works, the gods will punish us. Power has no morality. Those who carry the divine blood of power can still become tyrants, raising EA against the very gods who gave it. And those who carry dark power, if their heart stays good, can still protect the innocent. This creature is weaker than us, and yet it holds something impossible. If we could hold it too. The chief goes silent, breathing hard. This is a heavier choice than his own death. He looks down at his stubborn daughter, voice cracking. But we don't have enough people left. For 200 years, generation after generation sent the young to merge with beast blood, and generation after generation threw their lives away. That's why we're so few. This time, the women go. The tent falls dead silent. Half a day later, great torches blaze at the high point of the tribe. Moga calls everyone together. If we refuse to be forgotten, if we want to reclaim the glory of the Yanli, if we want to see a great hero king rise again, death cannot break what we carry. The great hero king Gilgamesh once said, "The history of mankind against nature is a history of courage and song." Today, history will record what we do. Tomorrow at dawn, we ask you to come. For the tribe, the song of humanity is a song of courage. Below, the women hold their children, silent. Everyone knows there is almost no chance of coming back. That night, countless women make their choice. They will go through with it. So many days and nights have passed. Husbands dead, fathers dead, sons dying, sooner or later. What is left for them? They have themselves. No one is coming to protect them anymore. Only they can do that. This day is soaked in blood and brutality. Countless women step forward to merge with the evil eye blood. Over 400, their bodies cover the ground, faces frozen in agony. But 3 survive. Moga, and 2 others, Circe and Frostsong. These These three are carved forever into ancient stone. In the sea of blood and fallen women, three stand upright, drenched and unbroken, surrounding a single great torch blazing between them. A mural later generations would call the three witches. They have passed the flame of civilization forward. In the days that follow, these three fearless women lead the tribe into a new era. They begin to develop a strange spiritual force, sharp and powerful, mysterious and dark, like the evil eye itself. Slowly they gain the ability to resist the great beasts, projecting their spiritual force from behind the lines to disrupt and disorient them, while warriors with stone axes hold the front. But that same powerful spiritual force spikes without warning, and in moments of closeness with men, the surge kills. So they become women of purity, unable to be near men at all. Solitary, untouchable, unapproachable, Moga burns with glory and purpose, leading the tribe to war, wielding a wooden staff against the great beasts. Frostsong is gentle and warm. She leads the women to herd and graze, tending medicinal herbs and healing the sick. Cersei is different. She was a married woman. She killed her husband without meaning to, a surge of spiritual force in an intimate moment. But her desire is overpowering. Having tasted it, she can't stop. She begins using her charm ability on men, like the evil eye, indulging herself, then almost always killing them after. Men start dying mysteriously. People whisper curses at Cersei. She hears it all and holds the grudge. Those who resist her, she curses with her spiritual force. Every man who dares push back is left with splitting headaches, black rings burning beneath their eyes. Cersei becomes the face of evil in the tribe. The other two try to stop her and fail. They can't kill her either. They need her power to protect the tribe. Because of Cersei's reign of terror, women's status rises to something sacred. The three of them are called witches, symbols of power, darkness, mystery, terror, and absolute dominance. From this day forward, the tribe enters the age of the witch, ruled by women. The spear of the sacred witch records the Babylon tribe, devastated, its men few, its women drinking the evil eye blood, giving rise to three great witches: Moga, the war witch, keeper of chaos, battle, and glory; Cersei, the curse witch, keeper of desire and destruction; Frostsong, the spring witch, keeper of the mystic arts, herbalism, and the herds. I laugh quietly to myself. Just over 3 days of waiting, 300 years in their world, and finally, in the wreckage left by the Great Flood, signs of revival. And of all things, people who have merged with a secondary gene. They chose the evil eye. Gilgamesh had merged with the white eye gene, giving him godlike strength. Now these women called witches have merged with the evil eye gene, and gained spiritual force. If that evil eye species hadn't emerged as the Sandbox's first transcendent strain, it might never have sparked this path at all. The evil eye has given me something far beyond what I expected. I sit at the courtyard gate, crunching an apple, and realize, thinking alone only gets you so far. You need other minds. Draw on the wisdom around you. The termite gene, for instance, it's simply too powerful. It demands too large a blank gene sequence. Almost no one has that much blank sequence available. But the evil eye gene is far weaker. The sequence it needs is small, and the odds of surviving it are much higher. 400 died, and 3 made it. Still, they're nowhere near Gilgamesh. Fighting even ordinary beasts requires a team, while Gilgamesh alone could level anything in his path. Their use of spiritual force is crude. They're studying sorcery and herbs, but progress is painfully slow. I think it over. I go back online. Western traditions have yoga and meditation. Eastern traditions have Taoist inner cultivation and visualization. All methods for training the mind. I'll plant the seed of meditation with them, and let them build their own path of witch cultivation from there. Every path begins somewhere. You cross the river stone by stone. Stumbling in every direction is brutal, but once you have direction, progress multiplies beyond measure. But how do I reach the 3 witches? Showing up as the wise colossus to hand over gifts won't work, and I can't directly control the tiny creatures inside the sandbox. While I'm still thinking, I glance at the game Sandbox. A pack of hardcore players have already evolved onto land. They discover an impossibly massive giant sitting far away on an enormous chair eating an apple. This game is insane. We're literally yard bugs in someone's courtyard. Are we supposed to fight back against the giant? 3 or 4 misshapen creatures huddle together and whisper. The freedom in this game is terrifying. Observe from a distance. We're not ready to fight it. Don't go near it. If it stomps you, there's no respawn to cry about. A group of players lie flat in the coastal tree line, watching, hidden, eyes locked on me. These little ants are whispering about me like I'm a raid boss. I sit in the yard watching a cluster of tiny creatures gossip among themselves. Really think they're the main characters. Knock, knock, knock. Sonny's here with groceries. Fine, food first. I stand. What? Earthquake? It just stood up. Run, don't get stomped. A horde of bizarre creatures scatters across the ground in full panic. Behind them, a colossal figure moves through the sky like a drifting cloud, each step spanning miles, clearing them without a glance. When it returns, it's carrying a blue lunchbox. It sits back down and eats. I eat my home-cooked meal and keep thinking about how to get the concept of meditation through to the 3 witches of the Babylon tribe. Then, the players creep back out of the trees and huddle up. The boss even has a walk animation. It's eating, lay low and grind. I watch these little ants plotting strategy and almost laugh. But then, a spark. Wait, it's a spore evolution sandbox. I can go in as a player, start from a spore and evolve into a small creature, then enter the grand sandbox directly. I can barely contain the excitement. Setting up the game sandbox was absolutely the right call. But if I'm going in myself, I need to clear the field first. 1 second later, a message appears before every player. Emergency maintenance. Server going offline in 3, 2, 1. The announcement drops. The whole sandbox erupts. Garbage dev. 3 seconds? That's not a warning, that's a slap in the face. 3 seconds. Gone. Total blackout. Players rip off their VR headsets, nearly throwing them across the room. They have no idea. Their chatter in front of me is exactly what reminded me they exist. Meanwhile, I'm in the forums raging at myself as the dev, but the game's pull is too strong. Speed Demon Chen is still in the forum, strategizing against me. It's eating. We evolve a potent neurotoxin self-destruct into its lunchbox. It eats us. At minimum, it gets food poisoning. I'll evolve into something that looks like waste, poison in disguise. I am stunned. This guy wanted to drop waste on my head last time. Now he wants to poison my food. I'll quietly add another mark next to his name. Buddy, you're going to need all the luck you can get. After forcing the game sandbox offline, I take a white rubber hose to the sandbox area, dig with a hoe between the two sandboxes, and bury a tunnel over 30 feet long. 2 worlds. Connected. This is my private passage. No one gets through without my say. Then I head back inside, put on the VR headset, register a player account. Everyone who cursed me, noted. Log in. Darkness. After what feels like half a day, the creature I evolved finally crawls onto land. This body, I look at myself, as bizarre as anything the other players have spawned. A black-feathered, shaggy, 3-eyed raven. 2 normal eyes flanking a vertical slit pupil in the center, covered in dark feathers, completely unable to fly, only capable of a low glide of 10 or 12 feet. Genesis core, this raven looks just as ugly as the evil eye creature. By the law of ugly equals powerful, the potential should be just as high, right? The Genesis core hits back instantly, most likely lacks any transcendent potential. Simply a failed evolutionary mutation. That lands hard. But then again, every life form evolves in its own way. The evil eye was a miracle built from coincidence stacking on coincidence. Nearly impossible to replicate. But my needs are simple. As long as I can move, it's enough. I enter the hidden tunnel between the 2 sandboxes, a long stretch of total darkness until light bleeds through. When I come to, a dense jungle surrounds me. Lush canopy, vivid green earth, massive beasts roaring in the distance. A vast, raw, primordial world. I'm in. These raven feet carry me forward in a no-nonsense stride straight toward the Babylon tribe. The tribe's buildings are spread across the land in an organic pattern, grown to a meaningful size. The 3 witches are far weaker than Gilgamesh, but strong enough to hold the great beasts at bay. Humanity sits in the middle of the food chain, unable to face the apex predators, but no longer easy prey either. With stability secured, they breed aggressively, because the larger the population, the greater the chance of producing more witches. Deep beyond the tribe, in a jade mountain gorge, lies a pool that looks like a dream. 3 beautiful women bathe within it. More than 10 years have passed. The 3 witches are now in their 30s, an age when most people in this world are already dying of old age. Their contemporaries are almost entirely gone, yet time has left no mark on them. They are radiant, vibrant, and strong, like girls in their teens. Gilgamesh, after merging with his secondary gene, lived over 200 years. These 3 are barely 30. Their long lives have only just begun. Moga floats lazily in the clear spring water. Last night, another one of the girls we grew up with passed, already white-haired. All this time passing, and I've learned that only what the 3 of us share lasts forever. Everything around us changes, only we stay the same. What? You 2 sit so high and mighty as guardians of Babylon, but you're alone. Don't you ever envy ordinary women? A husband, children? Circe, watch your mouth. Long ago, when they first saw Circe begin to fall, they swore the 3 witch laws. First, before taking the evil eye blood, a woman must be pure and must never take a lover. Second, after becoming a witch, no contact with men. Third, never weaponize spiritual force against people. Circe is the exact opposite of all 3. Her spiritual force is so immense that any emotional spike kills the men around her. For over 10 years, a few men die mysteriously every month. 4 new witches have emerged in recent years, and Moga and Frostsong finally decide to move against Circe. But after the confrontation, they're horrified. Circe has quietly grown far stronger than both of them. It takes their combined strength just to restrain her. It seems that while the good witches have been holding themselves back, Circe has been letting herself go completely, and her spiritual force has only grown stronger for it. 5 more years pass. In the 16th year of Babylon, Circe's power is unfathomable. Together, they can barely match her. Well, still not curious? Stop holding back. Let yourself go. No. That path is wrong. We have to find the right way to cultivate our spiritual force. Then I'll just have to make you. Circe's expression goes cold. A bone-deep chill of spiritual force radiates from her body. The water pulls away in rings. You've gotten this strong? Moga and Frostsong's faces shift. They move. 4 new witches appear at the pool's edge, gripping black staffs. Moga planned for this. All the witches together to bring Circe down. And what will that do? Circe's spiritual force surges. The water thrashes and churns, fish flipping belly up from the shockwave. This is the power of a witch. A calm, unhurried voice cuts through. An impossible creature, a 3-eyed raven with black feathers, sits silently in the branches above, watching. Who is that? This pool is sealed by a spiritual aura. No man can approach. Kill it first. Every witch, including Circe, strikes at once. A concentrated spiritual shockwave that would destroy even the mightiest beast. All of it aimed at one small bird. But the force lands on the 3-eyed raven, and nothing happens. How is that possible? Every witch stares, throats dry, the same thought echoing through all of them. What kind of power is this? The power power of meditation. They stare at the raven, that thought still ringing. What is this power? Meditation, I say from the branch. Not really. Their spiritual force is their whole arsenal, but with the Genesis core shielding me, it simply doesn't reach. In truth, I'm just a weird, ugly little bird. Who are you? The witches are facing something they've never seen, a creature beyond human that can speak. Ancient legend stirs in their minds. A speaking, non-human is a wise colossus, the creator itself. Are you a god? If that is what you believe, then a god I am. I am one of the wise beings the Creator once made. Unlike you, though I am powerful, I cannot reproduce. I am singular. I was given the name Xuanmo, god of wisdom over all living things. You may also call me Mercury. I've come to light a fire for the Babylon tribe, to bring you the truth of this world. What is the truth of this world? The truth is everything, the source of all force, all that you can see is contained within it. I am here to give the people of this earth three truths: meditation, alchemy, and sorcery. Every face transforms completely. Gilgamesh was once given the three gifts of civilization. Now they are to receive the three truths. We're standing before a god from the old stories. This can't be real. First, meditation is the path of cultivating the spirit. It gives you the foundation to reach what we are, the path toward becoming something greater. Second, alchemy is the hidden science of creation, the key that forces open the door of truth. All things in this world interact, generating, countering, transforming, and that is the principle of alchemy. All things generating and countering each other, endlessly transforming. The core of alchemy. Its deepest secret lies in the triadic formula. One substance calls to another. One substance negates another, one substance commands another. They listen, half understanding, half lost, completely spellbound, faces tight with focus, terrified of missing a single word. Third, sorcery is a remarkable force. It lets your spirit draw earth from within fire and pull flame from the depths of the ocean. Following this principle from that one singular source, countless extraordinary transformations will emerge. The three-eyed raven drops from the branch and hits the ground. I step out of the creature and exit the sandbox. Logged out. Interface closed. Done. I rehearsed that speech several times, too afraid to flub a single line. Acting is not my strong suit. If it weren't for the cancer, I'd never bother memorizing a script. Guiding a civilization forward while playing God, without revealing that the god is actually a total weakling, is genuinely exhausting. Let's be honest. Gilgamesh is the kind of being that, scaled to our world, could crush me with one hand. Even the three witches and the power they carry was earned through rivers of death. Transcendent lives completely beyond my reach, and I'm out here trying to play the wise deity for them. Just thinking about it gives me a headache. I'm just a regular person. After logging off, I shower, restart the game's sandbox. Within minutes, every player is back online, cursing and grinding, desperately evolving new species. Using an entire world as a sandbox to simulate civilization and cure terminal cancer, probably no one else on Earth would do something this extreme. But this road is brutal. The seed has been planted. Of the three disciplines, alchemy is what I want most. Above everything else, alchemy. Brewing elixirs, formulating something that can actually treat cancer. But alchemy only exists in myth. Putting it into practice will be another matter entirely. Meditation and sorcery, though, those should work. Yoga, Eastern inner cultivation, mindfulness, all variations of the same thing, expanding the mind and spirit. That part's solid. And for sorcery, once spiritual force grows strong enough, applications will follow naturally. The groundwork is done. What they build from here is up to them. It's just a shame transcendent species are still so rare. Something like the evil eye. More varieties would generate better breakthroughs. I sigh. I look at the players. Come on, people. Put in some effort. All they do is scheme against me instead of evolving anything useful. A bunch of animals. I need to figure out how to actually squeeze some value out of them. Just then, Sunny's voice comes from outside. Linshin, you promised to come to my reunion. Time to go. I blink, then remember. Getting out for a bit sounds fine, actually. I change into the new outfit I bought and step outside. Holy, the giant's moving again. Run, the giant is attacking. I've got 6 legs, I just need to outrun the rest of you. Tiny creatures scatter across the ground below. I'm not trying to step on them. I'm just thinking about how to fully utilize this free labor force. Outside, Sunny is already waiting with her scooter. We ride into the city, head up to a private room on the second floor of a mid-range restaurant, and push open the door. A crowd of young people fill the table, laughing and eating. The moment I walk in, the room explodes. Who is this? Wrong room? Sunny steps out from behind me, visibly delighted by the chaos. This is my boyfriend Linshin. Pretty great, right? Oh, this is all for her. A crowd of girls swarms over, chattering and staring. I sit there quietly. She dragged me here for exactly this. After 3 mass extinctions, so much dead weight in the genome got cut away. What's left is close to something perfect. That almost inhuman presence can't be hidden. A few guys look annoyed. They come over to make me drink. I take every round. Years of working in the real world. I've seen everything. These kids are straightforward enough, no real malice. But this body simply doesn't get drunk. After 3 or 4 of them are down, no one else tries. Dinner wraps up and we move to karaoke. I sit on the couch with my phone, waiting for Sunny to tire herself out so I can take her home. I glance at a few guys nearby. They're watching a live stream of spore evolution. This is insane. The possibilities are literally infinite. Must be something like a supercomputer doing real-time evolution. This player is terrible. I am dying for open beta. Not happening. A top analyst says no wide release. The compute required for a fully simulated world is too massive. In reality, the player count limit doesn't exist at all. Because this isn't a simulated world, it's a real one. No servers needed. The only thing processing the player count is my will. The game is insanely hardcore, but 100 players is way too small a pool. Just a bunch of freaks. We need real professionals in there. A student next to them, studying evolutionary biology, looks envious. I'd evolve something actually viable. Let the professionals in. That hits me like a spark. One sentence, and I know exactly what I need to do next. Coming out with Sunny today was absolutely worth it.